Good morning. It's morning Oasis. Welcome back. I am hoping that the signal is going to be strong. My son is home and he's on the internet and I had to just scream to get him to hear me. We'll see. All right. Hello. It is a beautiful, bright, sunny, beautiful day in the Pacific Northwest as far as I can see so far. We haven't been outside yet. Today we're going to the doctor's office. It's our first time. Wow, so excited to be getting into that surgeon's office and seeing what's going on in its hand and how it's healing and all of that stuff. Today is Q&A Friday, so today it's all about you guys. It's what you guys want. It's card pulls. It's whatever it is that you guys want to have the day be about. I'm also interested in hearing about where you guys are at, where you guys are feeling like you're growing with this program. How is it supporting you? All of that stuff I'm very curious about. I think it's amazing that we get this opportunity to do this together every day, and it helps me to know where you guys are. Hi, hello, Jessie. You guys, Jessie is actually asked for a card pull for the two of us because we have recently connected through Facebook, and he has a lot of experience with connecting with the Sasquatches, and he said I could say something about it, so I'm gonna. And I don't talk about that a lot, and I also have a connection with the Sasquatches, so it's through that we really connected. And so, you know, he also is going through an expansion and growth, just like all of you guys are, and he wanted to get a card pull for the two of us and see what that, what the advice or what the relationship or interaction, that connection is about. So if you have a card request pull, oh, thank you, Jolene. Yeah, I like this color a lot better. It's much more suited to me than the red was. I felt like a pop rocket. It was awful. So I'm getting cued, Jessie, for us to do the Dreams of Gaia card pull for that. I haven't pulled this deck out for a while. This is that Dreams of Gaia. This one is a tarot. It's a remake on the whole tarot. It's by Raven Felon, and it's P-H-E-L-A-N. I really love this deck, I have to say. I don't spend enough time with it, and I think I need to start bringing it with me to the fairs and stuff because it's so beautiful and has such great energy and really interesting stuff. Good morning, Gurdeep. Gurdeep also requested a card pull. That's because, you know, Jessie, I'm just like that only. Quick like that only. So I'm going to give these a little shuffle. What I'll say, I'm just being guided. If you have interest in doing card pulls for yourself, this is the best way just easily to communicate and to get this guidance, get this information coming through. It's so quick and easy. You just pull cards, and if you're really just letting yourself go, good morning, Andrea, or Alex. Good morning, Alex. If you're letting yourself go and just pulling, it's most likely that it's just going to work for you. I don't put a lot of effort into it, you know. They kind of tell me what they want me to do. They tell me if they want me to shuffle. They tell me if I should cut. They let me know when it's done. I use my compass that is just totally ingrained and built into my system now. So that's my confirmation with myself, and so you can do this for yourself. I always recommend for people when they're going to pick out a new tarot deck, how do you do it, right? Like, what do you do? You'd love a card pull. Let me see. I would love a card pull, or chickens. I'm kind of reluctant because, yeah, I bet. Oh, God, that was rough, man. Oh, God, I don't know how you did that. Andrea raises chickens, and the heating lamp fell over in her facility, and it burned down, and all of her chickens were roasted, unfortunately. It's so sad. It was a rough experience. I can understand why you would feel like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that again. So we'll do that too, Andrea. Let me write that down. Yeah, today is that pulling day. Today's the day where it's really up to what you guys want to talk about. So one of the things when you're picking a tarot deck, you know, or an oracle deck, I use the compass to decide, is this, and your questioning is important, right? If you've been using it, you're probably starting to learn how important it is to be curious. And you can't be curious enough. You can't ask enough questions. So, like, if I just ask, should I buy this deck? I might get a yes. If I get a yes on that, that doesn't mean that the deck is for me. Oftentimes, I buy decks and they're not for me. They are not mine. Like, for instance, this Nature's Whispers deck never felt like mine, and I totally loved it. And I was like, oh, is that the deck I should buy today? And they're like, yeah. And so I bought it. And when I went to go visit my parents last, it was like, you need to take me with you. And I was like, oh, I'll just take my normal deck. I don't need to bring you. You never want to work with me. No, you need to bring me with you. And so I was like, well, I'm only bringing the cards. I'm not bringing the whole big box. And so I take it down there, and my sister asks for a pull, and I pulled out my 3 decks and taught her how to use the compass and said, okay, now pick which deck it is that you want a reading from. And she picked this one. And we started to do the reading, and it was like meant for her. And as soon as we were done with the reading, they're like, I went to pick them up. They're like, no, you don't pick me up. No. Mm-mm. And I couldn't pick them up off the counter. It was like looking at fire and wanting to pick fire up. No, you don't pick fire up. You watch it. So I asked internally, are you for her? 'Cause she's not really into that, you know. And it was like, yep, there you go. See me backwards. You know, that is the annoying thing about Facebook Live, is that it flips the image around. It doesn't, well, or it doesn't flip the image around. I guess I don't really know how to put that. So yeah, I am backwards. And you could just like know that over on the other side is where all of, like, everything is just reversed. So you guys get to be familiar with my face, like in the mirror, like I see myself in the mirror. All right, so we're pulling a card for Jessie and I, the 2 Jessies, Jessie and Jessie. Oh, that's so funny. The cards would not, okay, that entire shuffle, the cards wouldn't even go together. So that's what I mean when I say the cards are already speaking to you. I'm absent-mindedly shuffling and not thinking, okay, is this ready as I'm talking, which normally is fine, but there's a message in that too. Okay, well, there we go. Oh, Jessie, this is hilarious. So the deck just split right at this card and this card. So there's 2 cards that wanted to come out, and we're not going to let it be more. Stephanie, you mentioned chickens and have you seen, oh yes, I did get a new bunny. What's our relationship with animals in the universe? That's a great question. And I'm going to write it down so I don't forget it. Okay, so Jessie, the cards that I pulled for us are 2. The first one is a major arcana, and it's intuition, and this one is the 22 card. Now, this card in a normal deck would be the star. The star and intuition is all about using that guidance and letting it come in and being like, recognizing what you're receiving, right? Which is what we've been talking about. This was the first card that I pulled. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but the web is in here, right? With the spider, lots and lots and lots of confirmations here. The web is the most critical thing for us to maintain and understand our connections with each other. Understand that we're all coming together in this great web, this great interconnection of human consciousness. And as we consciously tap into that, make that a part of our daily practice, becoming familiar with that web, we actually grow more. We accelerate our growth. We amplify each other. We don't add to each other, we amplify each other. Now, Jesse is working on his intuition. He's working on trusting it, understanding that what he's getting through truly are communications for him, for his growth and development. So here you go. Here's that confirmation of that. The second card that wanted to come out with this, because it's like the deck split and there were these two cards, is the Queen of Water. Now, in most tarot decks, this would be the Queen of Cups. Let's see. I don't know. I'm going to try and bring it in. Look at that eye symbol with all of the detail around it. And as you come down, you know, she's got all of this stuff going on with her. So the Queen of Water, I love that this deck and my other deck as well both use turtles as a part of that, as a part of her, because turtles represent that ancient, deep inner wisdom and knowledge. The Queen of Water, the Queen of Cups, is all about having an understanding of emotions. She supports the feelings of her people. She understands those subtexts that are behind behavior. And because she has this innate knowledge and innate awareness and connection to the subconscious and this ancient knowledge, she's able to serve her people. And that's, you know, Queen of Water, when I do card pulls for myself, Queen of Water, Queen of Pentacles, or excuse me, of Wands are the two that always come up the most for me. Passion and emotion, creativity and emotional support. So these are very powerful symbols for me. I often am represented by this in tarot when it comes up for other people that I'm reading for, and their spreads are built around it's time to start seeking more guidance, more understanding. It's time to start training in your wisdom and awareness. This is the card that they get. So that's our poll, Jesse. I don't think you're surprised. So, you know, you're coming to me for more understanding and more guidance, more awareness, and all of that stuff. So Andrea, Gurdeep asked for a card pull. He was the next one. Let me feel if it's this deck too. It's not. I thought it might be. So Gurdeep, the Ganesh. Yes, the Ganesh cards, you are the ones who want to talk with you. And this is an oracle card deck. Now, you may have seen these two things, oracle cards and tarot cards, and wondered, what's the difference? Well, the tarot is based upon a system, an ancient system actually, and it came from a card game in France, where it was broken up into major arcana and minor arcana. And the major arcana are like those life lessons. If you were to take the human condition, oh, thank you, crows. We've got a couple crows flying by. There's the third. When you take an ancient, the human condition, and if you were to break it down into what are the basic lessons? First, we drop in, we're the fool. We have no understanding, no awareness. We have no preconceived notions. We're just kind of stumbling in the dark, hoping we get it right. And then you progress. You have to learn your environment, which is the magician, understanding the nature around you. And you continue through that, understanding what it is to be two and have that interaction and relationship, becoming the manifester. And now what do I do with the manifestation, the empress and then the emperor? You know, all of these things are that progression. Yes. Yes, Jesse, I agree. So all of these things are that natural progression. Now, if you were to take those life lessons, let's say, for instance, the magician, that understanding and mastery of the elements, of the world, of how things work, and you were to break it down into 4 components. The wands are creativity, passion, the fire element. The cups are emotion, as we already said, emotion, sub-thoughts, subconscious, all of that stuff. and that's water. The swords are intellect, understanding, awareness, that conscious realm. They also tend to indicate mental issues and struggles like anxiety, which also is a physiological issue, but those kinds of things as well. And they are representing the air as far as an element. And then there's the pentacles, which is the earth, money, material things, what is, the earth, the grounding things. So they take each of those lessons and look at it from each individual perspective. So perhaps you're doing fine in creativity. So, but really where you're struggling with that mastery is the thought. So the Ace of Swords would be the way of describing that and saying, okay, it's just this individual piece. So that's what a tarot deck does. Now, an oracle deck, this is the Ganesh Oracle deck, Whispers of the Lord Ganesh, by Angela Hartfield. An oracle deck is different, and the reason it's different is because it's created based upon the author's understanding and awareness. Usually the cards are not broken up between major and minor arcana. They're, instead they are 1 through whatever the number is of cards that are within that deck. Oftentimes there's between 40 and 70 cards in those oracle card decks. Wow, the crows are just all over my window right now. So the oracle cards, that's based upon somebody else's personal interpretation, and they've decided, I want to be free of the construct of the tarot, and I'd like to make it about whatever it is that I believe it should be about. So let's see, the wise old Chinese woman said that the Fool was the most powerful card. The Fool is my favorite card in the deck, actually, and when I get it, I'm like, oh, thank God. Because it means that I'm kind of fresh into something new, and I love learning new things. That's my favorite thing to do. Okay, so Gurdeep, your card pull. Now this reminds me, I did message you after the last time that you listened. One of my students picked up some pretty strong energy off of you. She felt that you were suffering through your concern and worry about a child. And you had asked me some questions about why, if your daughter would become a doctor. And I don't know if the pictures of you with the very young children are your children or if they're your grandchildren, but she was expressing that your mind was creating a torturous state for you and that you were really suffering with that. So Ganesh's advice to you is to surrender. This card is number 2 in the deck, surrender. One of the things that Ganesh had to do in order to be able to acclimate to this other head, this elephant head that he was given, was he had to surrender and allow that he was different, allow that this connection is new and different, and allow the persona state of the mental thinking of this elephant to come to his body. And it was not through fighting it. When we resist things in our lives, when we fight the changes that we're forced into, they become something that we suffer through. And it feels like you're having some suffering due to the mental constructs that you have created about what would be success, what would be a good life. And it feels to me like the advice to you would be to surrender to what is. Look at what is around you. Feel the bounty and the joy that is around you, and what can you surrender to? When we get all caught up into what we think something should be and how we believe it needs to be in order for us to feel joy, in order for us to move forward with comfort, we are creating a construct and a belief that is bound to disappoint us. So that's kind of, yes, a river is the perfect illustration of surrender. Thank you, Jessie. If you are fighting that current, you're just going to exhaust yourself and you're still going to go downstream. You're still going in the same direction, but it's much slower, your progress. And if you surrender, you're flowing. Exactly. Thank you, Jessie. And also, I'd like to point out, the river carves out the land. It doesn't force its way down something, it gently flows. And by flowing, it carves out its own path as well. So by surrendering, it creates an allowance that does create that ability to shift and change the landscape. But first, one must flow through the landscape that is there, and then allow your movement to progress you. So that was that poll. And then we have Andrea, and then I will answer the question about animals in the universe. Andrea, the Dreams of Gaia Tarot also want to talk with you, Andrea. This one is the Three of Water that you got. The Three of Water. Let's see if we can bring her in and give you a better view. So you can see some of that symbolism in there. I'm going to read this one because I'm feeling like I need to. And we'll just see what she's got to offer. If you are new to me, then you know this is a new deck to me. And I love to orient into what the actual author's images and ideas are when I feel in any way confused about it. Ah, yes, I thought that might be it, but I was like, is it really? So, you know, she's, what I think of when I look at this card is bondage, right? So this is, for the author's intention with this card, is satisfaction, pleasure, joy, hopefulness, anticipation, detachment, expectation, and disappointment. Key phrases: celebrate your victories, take satisfaction from your endeavors, look to the future with anticipation, which anticipation is that moment where you are excited, curious, unsure, unclear, and allowing, right? Again, allowance. Success will continue, a rewarding outcome, an exciting future. Free yourself of unrealistic expectations and allow the outcome to manifest itself freely. So, you know, she is quite bound up, right, in these the images, but she's not restricted in any way. So there's this kind of this interplay between creating the state and then allowing it to continue and progress. And I think that's really what you're in the process of doing anyway, working on creating the state for yourself. Okay, so if anybody else has card pull requests, feel free to throw them out there. You're welcome, Gurdeep. And we can do more card pulls as we go. If you have any other questions, feel free to write them out. That's the best way to make sure I see them and answer them. Now, Stephanie, you asked, what's our relationship between animals and the universe? How do those things connect? What do they mean? And it's interesting. I was actually just reading about this the other night in the Law of One Raw Talks. And it just so perfectly coincided with my own experience of animals. So they were talking about that, you know, we've talked about density in here. We've talked about, great, Justine. We've talked about how there's different densities of expression. And unless you guys want me to, I'm not going to get too much into that. But we're expressing at the third density, which is where we learn about ourselves. We already are self-aware. We already are aware that there is something up there that we want to connect to. And this is that playground where we connect with that source consciousness. And we release the individuated state and begin to shift into that unity consciousness, which truly is into the fourth density. Once that's accepted, then you transition into a fourth density expression and consciousness. We're already starting to see shifts and changes in kind of physiology of people. They say that within 200 generations we'll be a single-sexed individuals again. We will no longer have dual-sexed. We won't have the plural expression or polarized expression. So animals are expressing at the second density. Most of them are. And remember, within these densities, there's all sorts of layers. You know, there's all sorts of lessons that are to be learned within that. That's not to say that one is higher, like better than, but as you learn the lessons, you progress through the density itself. Just like swimming up through the water in the water column, there's kind of these ranges of depths that, you know, you can go through. So animals are expressing in the second density, which means they are working on how to feel like they're even an individual, become completely self-aware, and how to be able to have abstract thought or abstract understanding and awareness. Animals know enough to prepare for winter. They know enough, they're giving enough to give to their family, to give to their children, to give to their community if they're in a community sense. Now, animals that express when they are within a community tend to be of a higher density within that second density realm. But the way that animals can accelerate their own expansion and processing and understanding awareness is through being pets with us. We actually teach our pets to think outside of themselves, which is what gives an animal that upward drive to think there's something other and beyond me, beyond this life. So animals are where the second density souls are progressing through. And we, as third density souls, are guides to those second density souls, honestly. And just like those fourth and fifth densities of beings that come and support us, or seventh and eighth density beings, which would be what we consider angelics, all come to support and guide us in our progression and learning, in how we move forward. So that's a huge part of our service to others orientation, is serving those in other densities. So the very first density of expression are the elements: earth, water, fire, air. When you start consciously connecting to earth, water, fire, and air, you will begin to sense a consciousness. When I want the sky to change, which is very uncommon for me to actually ask the sky to change, but I do sometimes. For instance, I'll tell you a quick story about that. I went with my son on a field trip. It was an all-day field trip. We were going to be working in doing water quality testing. They were going to be learning how to do all sorts of outdoor lab experiments. And when I got there, I was about 40 minutes early. And so I sat at the bus stop waiting for their bus to come because I missed the bus to ride with them. So I just met them there. And as I sat there, I was like, oh, this is so lame that it's going to be raining today. And I looked up the forecast. Ugh, rain all day. Oh, that's going to be lame. And we were kind of in a little bit of a valley. So I sat there and I connected into the sky. And I connected into this system that was the water and the air playing with each other. The element I connect the most easily with is water, actually. Other psychics and intuitives and people that do this work, when they look at me, they see my energy as water, as liquid water. I've had so many readings about this. It's redonkulous, seriously. So water is my easiest to connect to element. So I spoke to the water in the sky as well as to the air and the sky itself. And I built myself in my mind, because our imagination is truly our greatest tool in energy work. And I imagined this great big sword, the sword and air. Remember how we talked about that with Tarot? So I built this sword of air, and I visualized it, and I fell in love with it, imbuing that sword with my love, and thinking of my love, oh, as a crow really slowly just flew past, very close to the window. I imbued that with my love, which is how we actually create change in anything, is by falling in love with it. And then it falls in love with us, and it wants to respond. So I fell in love with this sword of air, and I imagined it just cutting the clouds, and visualized the clouds parting through the air like silk, loving the parting, loving the rain, loving the clouds, and then began to visualize us in the space that we would be working in a dryness, with sun, with the warmth of it on my skin, holding the feeling that it would be to do this work in the light, not in the rain, not even thinking about the rain. Just visualizing, creating this space of light and the sword cutting it. Now, the kids came and I kind of, all done. And usually that's what happens. And then I forgot about it. This is another key component for doing this kind of work. If you continue to hold on to it and check, is it done? Is it done? Is it working yet? You are actually undercutting your own work. So you've got to do the work and then let it go and allow what will be. Always allow what is optimum. Because let's say, for instance, it was critical that rain fell in that area, that it was a part of the growth and development of all of those children to do this work in the rain. Who am I to stop that? But if it's an allowance, then it'll comply. And so for me, that's a critical part of doing this kind of work. So I just kind of forgot about it, and it was still just a little bit drizzly. It was this kind of drizzly, dewy rain. And then we walked down from the bus stop into the valley. And it was sunny when we got there. And everyone was just like, oh, it's so nice. Thank God. And I was like, yeah, it's so nice. Look how beautiful it is. And we just stayed focused on that. We actually got hot. We had to take off our jackets. You know, it got really hot, actually. And it was so sunny and warm and beautiful. And I just kind of figured, oh, maybe they were wrong. Maybe it wasn't raining today. And I almost forgot that I'd done the work, right? That's how much I let it go. When I left the valley and it was over, I was driving. So as I drove up out of the valley area, I looked up and literally there was an eye shape of clear sky. And all the rest of Portland, which I could see from this place that I was at, was completely covered and raining. You could see heavy rain, light rain. I love when you can see rain in the distance. And I could only see that because I was in this clear spot. And so it had literally just created this islet of clearness over us. And that was when I realized, ooh, this stuff is for real. Now, plants, I'm so glad you said that. Those poor plants were, no, you don't understand, Jesse. It rains a lot here. This is a semi-temperate rainforest. So I didn't feel that bad. And the islet closed. As I was driving away and I looked back and I was in the rain, the islet started to close. So the work was released, the rain returned to that area. I didn't feel bad at all. And I knew that were it necessary for those plants to get that rain, they would not have allowed. The rain would have said, you know, sorry you have this desire, but this is what is optimum. This is what's optimum. And that's the state of allowance where I always include that in my work. I include that in my work with people as well. I never try to shift or change or fix a person. I ask that they enter into what is optimum for them so that they can begin to learn their lessons. Now, sometimes that creates a bit of upset in their lives and they begin to have a lot of breakage that occurs because of it. But that's because they need the breaks to release those things. They need to release it and shed it off. Now, plants. So trees, you know, the plant world, the plant kingdom is also progressing through density of awareness. And trees express at the highest of the second density. So that's one of the reasons that people talk to trees. Trees are conscious, they're aware, and they have wisdom and knowledge that really is amazing. There are trees that call me. There's times where I'm called to go to a certain place. I get there and it's the trees that I'm connecting with, you know, and they will stop me dead on a trail. When I'm hiking, I have to stop and sit with the tree and catch up with the people later because that tree has something that it needs to share with me. And I have seen amazing things connecting with trees. I was hiking through the forest up in Mount Hood with my friend. We were going mushroom hunting. And I came to this circle of trees and immediately I got this total body confirmation to pause, connect in. And there was actually a stone basin in the center. And I didn't realize it at first. It just kind of looked like a pile of rocks. But when I came closer, it was very clear that one of those rocks had been smoothed, the surface of it. And when I came close, I had to put my hands on that surface, and I lost time. And what they did was the trees, and I know it was the trees, took me back to the time when the indigenous people of this region, because the Pacific Northwest had so many tribes living here. When you learn the history of what happened as we, white America, conquered this area, it's pretty heartbreaking. One of the things I am grateful for the school that my son attends is that they have a program for third graders where they actually, they look at the history of the region, and through that they start with the indigenous people over 200,000 years ago, right, is where they start. And so they do a timeline around the classroom starting at that point. And it's like this much of it is us living here. All the rest is these other people. And we learned so much in that. It was really beautiful. Anyway, so I'm communicating with this space, and it takes me back to this time where this was a space of very sacred offering. And as I tapped in even more, I was only at that point just beginning to learn and understand about vortices of energy, what they are, what they mean. And this was a vortice. And the trees taught me about that. And it showed me how the people discovered this space. It was a native who was feeling this energy, and how they connected into this space, and then how the space became sacred, and how the community gathered in this space, and offerings were given in this space, and received messages were given, and they could connect with each other through time in this space. And it was the most beautiful experience. So I wouldn't have gotten that had the trees not guided me, had the trees not shown me that. So when we say third density, second density, fifth density, there is no better than, less than, more important than. It's the whole, you know. When we look at white light, we don't sit there and think, well, yeah, white's great, but you know what's the best part of that white light is that infrared spectrum, or the ultraviolet spectrum, or the blue frequency. We look at it as the whole. We can admire the individuations when the light is put through a spectrum or a prism and broken into its spectrums. We can admire those spectrums and their individual beauty, but we must look at the whole to understand it, right? We have to understand that that's just a part of this whole. And that's what the web references. That's that connecting into that web of consciousness. There's the human consciousness web, but there's the greater consciousness web. So a lot of my work, I begin with people on their individuated expressions, and then we connect into the expressions of others at our individuation level, and then we begin to connect with other individuated levels, and then we embrace the whole, because that's how we can really understand it and process the parts of ourselves that block us as we do this work, that inhibit us. You know, Jessie is actually working on this. This was the reason the intuition card came up. You know, there's a part of us that's like, okay, I'm hearing all this stuff coming through my head, and am I crazy? And then, you know, a confirmation will come. It will be, you know, for him, it's red-tailed hawks. So the confirmation comes through. Okay, well, yeah, all right, sure. But am I crazy? 2 hawks show up. Okay, great. Yeah, okay, help me with this and do this, and then releasing it. And then the next day, we all go through this, by the way, Jessie. Was that real? I don't know if that was real. I don't know if I can really do that. Maybe it was just a coincidence. So going for a walk at a different place, and here come 2 red-tailed hawks again. Oh, well, maybe it was real. Okay, maybe it was real. He just told me this story, so I'm sharing it, and I hope you don't mind, Jessie. So again, he has his communication with them, he experiences what they have to share, and then he goes home and he begins questioning again. Okay, wait, was that really real? Was it really real? I need to really know if it's real. Okay, I need to really know. And so goes back out into a different place, different walk, and again, here's a red-tailed hawk, or what was it, two that showed up again in the sky but felt hazy? And so then he looks away and then looks back and they're completely gone. Didn't see them fly away, but completely gone. So they will give you the signs that you need to confirm what you're learning so that you can have and build your confidence. But you must allow the signs to speak to you. And, that's the whole deal. And once he was like, oh, okay, it's real. He looks up and sees a hawk sitting on a signpost, right? The sign on the sign. How much more do you need, dude? How much more, is what they're saying. So it's perfect in that way. And Jesse, I love your stories. Seriously, I would share way more of them where I'm talking about Sasquatches. Which they're fascinating. Oh my gosh. But they also have great secrecy, and it's truly an honor to be accepted into that community and to receive information from them. And they, as you know, let you know what you can share. And so at this point, I am not guided to share too much about them other than they're real. It's not something people are imagining. It's not a bunch of drunk hicks in the woods that are making up stories, okay? They're real. And they don't want you to know about them because we are, as Jesse put it, we kill what we fear. And we fear them because we don't understand. So there's a lot of that going on too. And the Pacific Northwest has many stories about them. The Forest Man, the Wolf Man, all of these stories about these men that are expressing in animal densities. And that has to do with having to relearn karmic lessons or new experiences, having to grow and learn. So it's really quite powerful. Seriously, the crows are going crazy outside my window. When you're connecting in with the raw consciousness, who's been a strong guide for me most of my life, now that I understand what it is, I can recognize, oh, that's who I've been talking to all this time. So when you're connecting in with the raw consciousness, they use birds a lot to talk to you. And we do have a lot of crows in Southeast Portland. I'm not going to lie. There are crows here. There are a ton of crows here. So it is not unusual to see them. To see them through my tiny little window in my little stretch of sky in my townhouse condo complex with this kind of frequency isn't quite as usual, right? I'll also often see pigeons, but I don't see any pigeons at all through my window. I'm seeing the crows, and the crows are who've been communicating with me the most for a while now. We even, I was meeting with a group of people in a restaurant. We were working on a business contract, understanding, how we wanted to work together, what our business would be like. And we were all guided to each other kind of through crow energy. And this crow landed on the front door as somebody opened the front door. There's like a screen door and then the door itself. It landed on the screen door, and as soon as they opened the front door, it was trying to fly into the restaurant. And it's like squawking and like slapping the door, and the dude who was coming in was like, what is going on? It scared him and he stepped back. And the crow couldn't get in, but it sure made itself known, So this is the way those symbols work, and they talk to us. Perhaps you're being communicated with through license plates. The angelics communicate the most with the numerical realm, and they love license plates. For instance, yesterday, as I was going out to the farm to see Zanzibar, our new little bunny, I was driving along, and also the person who runs the farm, he's not quite ready to be seen yet, so I'm not going to quite share that information about who he is. When he is ready, I will. But the person who's running the farm, he too is going through an awakening process. He is a gifted student, and he teaches me every single time I teach him. We are constantly in that teacher, learner, teacher role, and it is such an honor to be working with him. And so as I'm driving along and I'm feeling like, oh, I'm so glad I get to see him too, and I get to see Zanzibar, and it was just this really overwhelming feeling of love and joy and anticipation. And I look up, and the car right in front of me, its license plate is 377 JDD. Now, there's three of us because he feels as strongly connected to my son as he feels to me. And they're like brothers. And my son absolutely adores him. There are only two people I have ever introduced my son to that he's like, I really love that person, Mom, and I want to spend more time with them. And when they leave, he's like, why did they leave? I mean, his whole face just falls. And that's Josh and this other guy. So the 3 is a very powerful number for me. I was born in 1977, and my date of birth adds, my date, the day, the 25th, adds up to 7. And 7 has been a number that has been communicated with me since the beginning of my life. I can't even, I would go on for hours just telling you all the ways that 7 has been speaking to me. So 377, and my initials are JDD. And that car was in front of me almost the entire way. And that was like 3 turns that we had to take to his house. So it was very clear communication that this is a gift for me too. And that I too get to receive. I too get to step into the learner-teacher role in this space. And it's beautiful and perfect, and I'm just so grateful. Numbers and birds such as crows and mourning doves are the typical signs that you connect with. So Andrea, you're connecting in with raw consciousnesses, and you're connecting in with angelic consciousnesses. The difference between those two purely is density of expression. The angelics, or what we call the angelics, are those who are connecting in almost all the way with God. They sit on that next, like if you were to look at it as like a sphere, and the center of the sphere is where that source consciousness, okay, so crow just landed right outside my window. So the source consciousness is in this center sphere, let's say, just as an example. That next ring that comes out from it is the 7th density. And that's where the angelics reside. The consciousnesses that know without a shadow of a doubt that they are a part of the source creator, that they are individuations when source decided, I want to make my infinite finite into these finite expressions. They're that first ring of density and expression. Now, you know, we start out here and kind of come into the center density is the way that it works. But so that first ring is that 7th density. Now, these beings don't need bodies. They coalesce a body around them. They call the elements together when they need to interact with other vessels, meaning they have to drop their vibration down into the density of expression where we exist at in order to show up. Now, I so resistant to accepting that angels were real. One of my early experiences was I started using a pendulum and a letter chart to hear my guides because I wasn't getting it clear. Well, I was, but I had no trust in it, no faith in it at all. This is about 4 years ago. I just thought it was, you know, voices in my head, and that they weren't real, you know. So my pendulum, I was like, okay, so everyone was telling me that I was different, that my energy was different, and I was like, okay, so well then what am I? What am I? And my pendulum spells out angel, and I'm like, that's some horse hooey. That's horse hooey. Like, I don't even believe in angels. I don't even believe in Christianity. And I said, no, I want to know what I really am. Like, tell me what I really am. And it kept spelling out angel, and I kept resisting it, and my pendulum ended up breaking. And then I kept, everyone I know was like posting angel stuff, was sending me angel stuff. People were calling me. Somebody gave me angel cards. It was like overwhelming, this communication. And so I sat down one night and I was like, okay, I got a glass of wine and I sat next to all of my crystals and I was facing my couch and I said, okay, so if I'm an angel, I had no belief. If I'm an angel, then, and who I'm talking to is an angel, then you can manifest a body. I know that you can because people talk about it. There's all sorts of stories. Okay, now there's one crow on each of the 3 peaks of the roof across from me. So I said, you can manifest a body. I want to see you. I want to see you in front of me. And I shit you not, you guys, this shimmering shape just began to manifest on my couch. And it became more and more dense as things began to gather around it. The house felt so expansive. My head is just as I'm telling this. And he became this form, this shape. I say he because that was how I viewed him. And that was the first angel that I saw and communicated with. His name's Xander. And he's a Hebrew angel. And I no longer could doubt. I couldn't doubt anything at that point. I realized everything I know, everything I believe is now in question. Everything I've decided and understood must now be untangled, and I know nothing. And it was from that state that I began my true awakening. And since then, my life has become, the only way to describe it is magical. That does not equal easy. That does not equal happy. That does not mean I live all the way up in the light. That's out of balance, as much as living in the dark is out of balance. So I cycle through just like a light wave cycles through the peaks and the troughs of its wave pattern. I go all the way into my lessons. If I am sad, I am so sad. It's like flowing waters, and I am at the depths of my depression. By jumping all the way into that, I allow it, I come right back up and out of it and follow the wave. But if I try to hold and go, I don't know how to fix it. I want to fix it. I want to make it better. I can't flow anymore. I'm resistant. I'm swimming upstream. I got to drop into the current and let it flow. So that's how I began to go, that's what angels are. Now, as these densities in these rings go out and out, we've got the 6th density and then we've got the 5th density. They each have their lesson set that teach us even more how to step into allowance. And when you get into that 7th density expression, when you step into that space, and I have energetically put my consciousness there as I returned back into my family, there is no question, there is no doubt, there is no reason to even ask Source why, because you already know the truth, that all is true and all is possible, and you submit completely. There isn't even a submission. You're already in the state. It's almost impossible to describe in this density. Coming back from that into here was one of the most painful experiences of my life. I don't go there very often because I have learned and recognized I incarnated and birthed into the system for a reason. And there are, according to the raw consciousness, 365 million of us who birthed here in this current expression, who came here answering the call, the cry of the people to find their way into the light. And so there are many of us that are here. There's 7 billion people on the planet, so 365 million seems like a drop in the bucket. But it is the drop that makes the difference. So when you are called and you are told that you are an angel or you are any other density of expression and that you are here to shine light and to assist any others into finding their way into the light, that is what you came here to do. Allow and surrender to it. I'm so glad, Justine, that this is resonating with you. And it is so hard for us to accept that we're of value, because it seems to us like everything in this expression teaches us that we are not of value. Let yourself cry, Justine. That's flowing and releasing the karmic debris and the beliefs that have limited you and inhibited you from being able to embrace your divine nature. And the reality is we are expressing in every possibility right now. Time is not real. Time is a construct through which we understand the experiences that we've set about ourselves. It's purely the pointer light of our focus and consciousness traveling down the preset path that we laid out for ourselves before we incarnated into this expression. So allow yourself to shine. The truth is, there's just no better way to live. Even when it's hard, and even when it's embarrassing, and even when you feel like, okay, am I really going to talk on this thing about being an angel? Like, is that for real? I don't know. Who am I to be an angel? I'm certainly not perfect. Oh, duh. So allow and shine. And our messages that we are getting right now, those of us that are angels, is this: to shine and to teach the others how to bring that infinite consciousness, that light through them, and remember that they too shine. That's all we're here for. That's it. And all the systems that we build, and the classes that we build, and the sessions that we do, and the readings that we do are all simply tools to get us to that one truth, that you are the creator. You are the divine, birthed here to shine the light of your divinity in the creation and allow others to see it who are lost in the darkness and are looking for the way. And that means that you too must go into the darkness, for that's the best place to see the shining light. On that note, I love you. I hope that you can surrender to your divinity and shine, and I can't wait to see your lights as I connect in my darkness and help me find my way. Have a wonderful weekend. Find things that help reinforce your divinity. Find the people, your other 365 million, if you need us. We're here. We're shining. Come to us if you need it, so you can shine brighter too. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me this week. This was a big week. We talked a lot of interesting things, big topics. I'm off to the surgeon with my son. Let's hope his thumb recovers. Little stubborn monkey won't let me work on it. Thank you, Jessie. I love you. Bye, guys.